welcome to stampingcatcrew.com. Today we're going to make this cute fold card. It actually does use some of the silver embossing and a lot of things from the Occasions catalog, which I am simply loving for the 2018 occasion. So I'm going to show you the stamp sets we used first. This is actually one of the stamp sets available in the 2018 Bration catalog. It's 2 sets. It has the happy and the best, and then some really fun word sentiments that are lovely writing. They are free with a $100 purchase. So they've actually done 2 levels of Bration this year. There are some die cuts and this stamp set that are free with a $100 purchase. So it's basically like getting 2 of the free 50 ones, but they're like a step above. So it gives you some real flexibility with your Bration dollars, and you can get some amazing stuff. So the sentiments that we used were wishing you a happy and then birthday. So I'm going to set that aside. That again is from the Bration catalog. The happy that's there we did in the silver embossing powder, and then heat set it with the embossing gun, just like this. I still love the magic of embossing when you have a matte powder and then you heat set it with your gun and you end up with this amazing, shiny, beautiful sentiment. In this case, the happy and the best are bottomed with all of these amazing floral details, and I was afraid it would get lost in the embossing because it was such a fine detail, but the stamp did just beautifully. So for those of you not familiar with heat embossing, I stamped the image, which is this right here, the happy. I used Versamark, which is almost like a clear sticky watermark image. And we have a thing called an embossing buddy. You rub it across and it keeps your embossing powder from sticking where you don't want it to. I stamped it in the Versamark, which is really, it's just a clear kind of sticky. I sprinkled some silver embossing powder on it and then heat set it with the heat gun. And that's available in the Stampin' Up! Big catalog, and that's year round. So because of this Cake Soiree paper, right here, we had all the beautiful silver detail, and that's on every page that's in that suite of products. So really lovely paper. I embossed that. We did the wishing you a, and then I knew the happy was going to be here, and birthday. And so I've done those in the Berry Burst color of ink, and then just flagged some Berry Burst paper around the edges. We did a little dimensional. I'm going to show you all the steps that we did because I have one ready to put together. And this is the Berry Burst paper that's in the 2018 Occasions catalog. It is silver edged. So just a really pretty, fun kind of card that's sparkly and has that fun, fancy fold. So I'm going to set this aside. These are the components that we had ready to go. And I always show you kind of the layering that I do and how things work. So basically what I did is I took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock and I cut it in half at 4 1/4 lengthwise. I scored it at the 5 1/2, and then I trimmed off halfway. So 2 3/4 inches is trimmed off. So this is what you're going to end up with right here. So this sheet of the Designer Series paper, I cut it 4 inches by 5 1/4, like you would a normal layer. I'm going to center that right on the inside here. We've already done the embossing for this layer. I'm going to set that aside. We're going to add some adhesive to this Designer Series paper layer. And like that. So this is the part that we're going to have centered right here. And basically what I did is I centered it, and then I knew with my eyeball this is where this flap is. So we don't want to have adhesive on the back of this past pretty much where this A is. So this is my thinking process when I'm assembling a card like this. because a lot of times I'm actually winging it. I know what my base is going to be, but all of these components that I layer together depend on what I'm using as a focal point. So there aren't things that are set in stone, and you're really not going to go wrong, you know, with what you do, which is why I always tell you, have fun and play with what you're doing. You know, I love watching my ladies be creative, because often they will do things that I hadn't thought of, and I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. What a great idea. So anyway, focal point, I'm going to flip this over. We know that we don't want our adhesive to go past here. So it's pretty much just about here. So we're going to add adhesive, and then again, we're going to center top to bottom, side to side, right about there. So this is the inside that I wanted to have a place to write a sentiment, but I didn't want it to show when we had the card closed. So it's essentially the exact same size as what's on the front. And I'm going to show you my very non-technical way to even that up. So add some adhesive. We're going to center that right on here. I'm going to add some adhesive again to the back, all four sides. And then here is my non-technical way to do that. I'm going to line it up right here with this guy. I'm going to close the card, and he is stuck exactly where he needs to be, just like that. So easy peasy. I take some of our berry burst ribbon, and then we know we want to make a little knot up here. And then, because I'm on camera and I don't want to use my toes, my cat is not much help when it comes to tying knots. What I figured out to do was to take a glue dot, and if somebody has a better idea for me, I am all ears, because I have literally taken off my slippers and held some knots down with my cute little toes. So, but that keeps your knot, well, essentially it should keep your knot shut right where you want it to be. And then you can, what I found is turning it this way worked better for me in terms of where I wanted my bow to lie. And then, because this is not sealed down, you can adjust where you want that, and then we're going to add a glue dot afterwards. So basically, I know I want it to lay just about there, so I'm going to take one more glue dot, and then so it won't move around anymore, I'm going to set that right there, and that will keep it in place now. And then we're going to pretty up the ends. Like that. And then we talked about these, and all I did was flag the ends, take those off, and then we are going to cut in the middle and then go from the inside to the inside, and then same thing, a cut in the middle and go from the inside to the inside. And I have this pink all ready to go, so I've added a little bit of adhesive to the back. And then, so I don't have to be so incredibly precise, I am going to have the border exactly kind of where I want it at the top. I know I can cut this part off right here, and then I can paper snip right along the edge of that one, and that way you have that nice thin border And then again, we're going to go from the end in. Do the same thing for the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up the camera so that you don't have to sit through the process on the other one, but you got the general idea, and then I'll show you how I added them. And there you have it. These are both the sentiments that we're going to add on to this layer right here. And so I'm going to take one of our Stampin' Dimensionals for each one. I'm going to put them on the back here, and then I'm going to take a little glue dot when you can use snail adhesive on the ends, and I often do with ones that don't have a lot of motion and they work just fine. Sometimes when I have things that have a lot more motion or flowing, then I'm going to use one of these instead, a little glue dot on each end. So we've got the wishing you a happy. We've got that down, and then I always like to flag up the ends a bit for that motion. We'll take two more of our glue dots. Bend those, remove the adhesive. And again, go right underneath where those flagged ends are. And that gives that some motion. I always tell you, don't forget to make your envelopes pretty. So the stamping I've done, and this sentiment set that comes from the Bration didn't have any kind of decorative elements for things like the envelope or whatnot. So what I chose to use was the Cake Soiree. Since the paper came from that and the flowers would be similar, I did the outline, the leaf, and these little branches here, and I stamped them in Berry Burst and some Pear Pizzazz that I stamped off. So this is the card that we just finished. This is the one that we started with. I hope it gave you some good ideas and helps you get out there and play. There are some amazing things in the 2018 Occasions catalog and also Celebration. They've went above and beyond this time, and I love it. So thanks so much for stopping by, and happy creating.